Welcome to News and Brews with the Times, where we spill the tea on what's happening in Hall County, Georgia. It's June 9th, 2025. We've got news today about tax refunds coming your way, the quality of your tap water, a new restaurant on the Gainesville Square, and a couple of interesting items our public safety reporter dug up. Good morning, I'm Shannon Casas.
And I'm Stacy Smith. We'll also be talking with reporter Ben Anderson about an update to local school bus safety. Grab your favorite brew and take a sip as we guide you through what's been happening in Hall County. You can also find all of these stories online at the link in our show notes.
One of our most popular stories last week was the fact that the state is going to be sending out tax refunds.
Woo! That's so exciting. How did this happen?
The state basically has a surplus, and I think for the past couple of years when they have the surplus in revenue, they have been sending out these rebates. They're smallish for each individual or family.
Any little bit helps.
Yeah. So, yeah, you'll be getting $250 if you're an individual filer, up to $500 if you're married filing jointly.
Awesome. When do we think that we'll be getting that?
So we reported that it'll be in the coming weeks. So just kind of keep an eye on your bank account and look out for that.
Very exciting. Can't wait.
So one of the things that our crime reporter, Nick Watson, reported on last week is this kind of weird case where someone in the middle of the night heard a crash and then called 911 because there was a guy in the street. And so they came out and basically the guy had died. They pronounced him dead, I think, on the scene. And they don't really know what happened. They're taking his body for an autopsy.
That'd be really shocking to hear that in the middle of the night and then to go out and see a body just laying in the road. Where did this happen?
So it was down like near the airport area in Gainesville on like the other side of the tracks from the airport.
Wow. So what did they do with the body? Like, what happened? Put me in the neighbor's point of view.
Authorities came out and they're sending the body for an autopsy. They really didn't have much more information.
Okay, so we don't know who this is.
As of the last reporting, we don't have an ID. We know it's a 31-year-old man.
Okay, so they know who he is. How do they know his age?
Yes, I believe they do. They just had notified next of kin.
Gotcha.
And we haven't updated the story with that as of the time we're recording this.
So essentially, this was potentially another hit and run.
Right. So the story says that he could have been hit by a car or he could have collapsed in the middle of the street. I'm not sure why they're confused about those possibilities.
Yeah. You think you would know when you go to the scene and check it out.
Like, did it look like he was hit by a car or not?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Or was he driving, had like a medical emergency, got out of the car and collapsed?
But I don't think the car was there.
Oh, well.
There's a lot of questions still on this one.
Well, hopefully we get some more information because this is kind of wild.
Yeah, so Nick Watson should be following up on that. Hopefully we will learn more soon. In exciting news, the Sanctuary on the Square restaurant is now open on the Gainesville downtown square.
Oh, awesome. That's right next to Avocados, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's had like signs up in the window and kind of a Instagram social media presence for a little bit, but now it's open.
So that's an interesting name for a restaurant. What kind of stuff will they be serving?
So it's going to be kind of traditional, like shrimp dishes, steak dishes. The story did talk about ossobuco, which is not something you can find anywhere. It's usually made with veal. This one's going to be made with beef shank.
I've never heard of that. I've heard of beef shank and veal, but what did you say? Ossobuco?
Ossobuco.
So that makes it sound like it might be more upscale.
It's going to be pretty affordable is the way that the co-owner was kind of framing it with the reporter. So I don't know. I haven't been yet, so I'm not entirely sure.
And they're officially open?
Yeah, they're open now. But they've also got this event space upstairs when this was Hopscotch before. And they had the blue room upstairs.
Never went.
I think the vibe
I've heard of it. The blue room.
Yeah. I think the vibe may be changing a little bit. They'll have bands up there and kind of somewhere between a sports bar and a speakeasy.
Oh, that would be really cool. Like if you had like a password to get in.
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
I don't know exactly what all they have planned, but they'll have some stuff upstairs as well.
Okay, so kind of like upscale fine dining, but at a affordable cost. And are they just open for dinner?
Right now, I think they're open for lunch and dinner, and they hope to add brunch.
Oh, yes. You know I love my brunch places, so that's
Yes.
exciting. Well, great. We'll have to go check that out soon.
Another crazy crime report that we had this week was this case where police believe a man shot someone and then he left. The man who was shot went to the hospital, and then the man who was shot was arrested.
Hold on, slow down. I'm having a hard time following this. Can you go through that again?
So 2 men were arrested.
Yes.
What happened was a man went to confront somebody. They believe he shot him, and then he left.
Okay.
The man who was shot, he was shot in the lower extremities, is what the article said. And then he went to the hospital. I guess he took himself.
Oh, he was like, gotta get this looked at.
Not sure how he got to the hospital, but then he apparently had arrest warrants out from a drug case from last year, and they arrested him.
Oh.
And then they arrested the guy who they think shot him.
Really, really smart, I guess. I mean, you gotta go. If it's a choice between your life and getting arrested, I think I'd choose going to the hospital too.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit different of a case. So each of them, I think we don't know if they have attorneys at this point, so we don't really have their side of the story. But that's what police have told us to this point.
Do we know what he had warrants for?
So it was a variety of drugs, some marijuana, some MDMA, which most people know as ecstasy or Molly, a couple of other things. And it was like trafficking charges, I think, for the MDMA, and possession with intent to distribute, which still, I mean, it sounds like he had a good amount of drugs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we had a value on the drugs, at least not in this story.
So the alleged shooter was arrested, right?
Yeah,
so
yes.
They're both in custody at this point?
They were both arrested, yes.
It's possible one of them or both of them made bond.
Yeah, I don't think we've had follow-up reporting on that just yet. So one of them was arrested May 30th, and then the man suspected of shooting was arrested June 3rd. So
Well,
they'll have a hearing at some point. But yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm glad they were caught.
The Gainesville Water Department released its annual report. This is something, it's annual, so they release this every year, and it kind of just gives a take on what the quality of the water is. They look at a lot of different substances that might be in the water. They measure them. They do a lot of water testing, I believe, throughout the year, and this is the report that they share with the community on whether your tap water is safe, good to drink.
Okay, so where do we get our water from? It's Lake Lanier, right?
Yes. Yeah, for the city of Gainesville, it's all from Lake Lanier.
So we need to have like stringent water quality testing. How did we do?
So we did pretty well. The report kind of goes over each substance and how much is in there and what the EPA recommendation is and what the EPA goal is, like what's allowed and then what's the goal, what's even better.
Mm-hmm.
And we definitely met all of the standards.
What kind of things do they test for?
So they look at everything from copper and lead being in the water that might happen from corrosion of home plumbing systems, to nitrites from fertilizer, to bacteria, to even substances that they use in the disinfection process. So they measure all of those different things, and it's a longer list than that.
And they passed all the tests.
They did. Met all the
Sweet.
standards.
Well, I know I might be considered like a little bit of a conspiracy theorist at sometimes, but we've got our fridge has its own filtration system, and then we've got kind of like a Berkey water filters, so we like triple are secured on that front. But this is good to know just for like regular bathing and water usage purposes.
Yeah, and I mean, some people are real picky with how the water tastes.
Yes, I am too. I like a good taste of chlorine in my water. I'm not kidding.
When we were in Arizona in the spring, the water there tastes entirely different. My kids were like, especially my older one, did not want to drink that water.
Yeah, that's how I feel every time I go to Florida. Like
Right.
even just showering in it, I'm like, oh, this doesn't feel clean.
This was different than Florida water, but also just not great. Not what I'm used to, for sure.
Have you noticed any difference between, because you grew up in Gwinnett, like Gwinnett water versus Hall County water?
I'm pretty sure Gwinnett water comes from Lake Lanier.
Okay, so no, you wouldn't then.
Right, but I lived for 10 years in Hall County on a well, and that water was different.
Yeah, that's true.
So city of Gainesville serves a lot of Hall County and the city, but then you do have well water for more rural properties, which we weren't really rural, but we were on a well. And then I believe some of the municipalities down south also have their own water systems.
Any idea of how Gainesville compares to other cities?
We didn't report that level of detail.
Because I did a story a couple years ago about the water quality in Lake Lanier. And I remember Linda McGregor, the director of the water department, telling me that they have more stringent standards than maybe other cities. So I'd be curious to know how we compare it to some other cities.
Yeah, maybe that's a follow-up that Danny MacArthur was the reporter on that one. Maybe she can look into that, because the story did, people seem pretty interested as far as the readership that we saw on the story online. Danny can follow up possibly, since the story was pretty popular with our readers.
Yeah, I'd like to read about that.
Everybody's got to have water, so good to know. So now we're talking with Ben Anderson, who covers education for us, about some changes coming to the Hall County buses. What's going on?
Okay, so I was at a school board meeting maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I'm sitting next to the transportation director for the school system. He turns to me and says, "Hey, I got something you might be interested in." And he tells me that they're going to install these cameras that will basically catch people who run the stop arm on the school bus. And I said, yeah, I'm definitely interested in that.
Okay, so these would be cameras going on the outside of the school buses?
Yeah, there are 3 cameras, one facing forward, one backward, and then kind of a bubble camera that catches a wide angle.
So do we have, I guess we don't really know how many people get caught doing that right now?
Well, they did a trial run for the last 2 or 3 weeks of school. And I don't remember the exact figures off the top of my head, but I want to say that it was something like 50 people ran the stop arm.
And
which was shocking to me. I didn't imagine that it would be that high.
No.
I feel like when you're on like a highway, like a 4-lane highway, and if you don't have a median in the middle, you're supposed to stop. But it feels weird if you're going down like Thompson Bridge Road once you're in the city.
Yeah.
To stop that level of.
So that was one of my questions. How many people are coming up behind the school bus? It's so obvious they have to stop, and they just say screw it and go around. And how many people are on the other side of the road? Maybe there's not a median, but it's not really clear whether they should stop. So I talked to a bus driver named Joey Johnston, who's very passionate about this issue. And he told me that most of the people who run his stop sign come up from behind, and they do it blatantly and flagrantly. And it's animated him.
Like it's a post office truck, and you're just like, they're slow, let me go around?
Yep, it's just people who say, I'm not going to wait on this bus.
I'm in a hurry.
And he has documentation. So this has upset him so much that he actually keeps a log of all of the drivers who pass him who run his stop arm.
Wow. So when you start reporting a story like this, so you got the tip when you were at a school board meeting, which you go to those pretty much every week, right?
Every other week.
Every other week for Hall County, and then you've got Gainesville on the other side.
Yes.
So you're always at these meetings. So what does that reporting process look like? He gives you a tip, and then where does it go from there?
Well, I'm not sure I'd call it a tip, because he's the guy I'm going to be talking to. So he tells me about it and says, hey, we can talk later. And I say, okay. So I talked to him this week about it, went to the transportation department, sat down with him, got some video and photos. And
then he connected you with the bus driver?
Yeah, the bus driver met us there. And he's an interesting guy because it's a second job for him, bus driving. His main job is being a Santa Claus. He's got a big white beard, and he was actually wearing a shirt that I think it depicted Santa, and it was like Santa getting mad at people for like running the stop arm of the school bus. So this is something he's very passionate about. He told me he found the shirt online, I think, and I was thinking,
no way.
That had to be a very specific ask.
Yeah. So anyways.
That is funny.
Those details going to be in the story, or just, I guess, the T-shirt would be in the photos?
The photos definitely will be. I'm I'm still deciding on how the story is going to come out.
Gotcha. So did you talk with law enforcement for the story?
I did. I talked to the guy who oversees the traffic division at the sheriff's office. And
is that a problem that they see a lot too?
I don't recall whether he had kind of specific numbers for me, but most of that information about how common this is came from the school district.
Okay.
And not to bury the lead here, the problem is way bigger than I could have thought. I mean, they were giving me, I think they said something like 50 or 70, dozens of people had run this stop arm in the trial period. So they basically hooked up these cameras to like 4 buses where there's kind of a lot of traffic and where this thing is most likely to happen. And they were shocked by the numbers, and I was shocked by the numbers.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how many people, like you said, are doing it intentionally or just don't even know that you're supposed to. I mean, obviously there's a big red stop sign, but like Shannon was saying, if they're in a different lane, do they still know that they're supposed to?
This is probably not indicative of what's happening, but they did tell me about one case that was definitely intentional. So the bus is stopped and the stop arm goes out, and the driver sees a car trying to go around. So the driver sort of sticks their arm out the window and waves their hand and says, "No, you need to stop." Apparently, the woman driving the car pulls up, gives the bus driver the 1-finger salute, and then turns to the camera and gives the camera the bird.
No.
Do we have that video?
I have requested it.
Blaster all over. I mean,
yeah.
But what's interesting about these cameras is they automatically record, and the recording goes straight to the sheriff's office via some cloud technology. And then the sheriff's office reviews it and determines whether a violation occurred, because sometimes it's going to catch things that aren't actually violations.
Is the penalty going to be any different than it already is, or they're just going to have more evidence to prove that the violation happened?
I need to brush up on the law a little more. So a new law about this went into effect last year. I think it's called Addie's Law or Abby's Law, something like that. And it was created after a little girl died after being struck by a car while getting off the school bus. Here's what I know about the new law. There is a minimum fine of $1,000. So if you are caught running this stop arm, no questions asked, a minimum $1,000 fine.
Good.
That's a hefty fine, but yeah, you're putting kids in danger.
Exactly. It needs to be, enough to make people think, I don't want to do that.
Are they doing any kind of, typically I see the police department, sheriff's office put out memes on social media about the rules when school year starts. Are they doing any kind of marketing, I guess, of, hey, the buses have these cameras and this is what the rules are when you're supposed to stop?
I imagine they will. If I'm remembering right, I think the sheriff's office told me that they do want to do something like that before the school year starts, because this is going to go into effect at the start of the school year in August.
Right. And of course, our readers will know about it. So the story is coming out this week?
Yes.
So what else do you have to do on it right now?
I've done most of the reporting. I would like to talk to a representative from the company who actually sells and makes these cameras to get a little more information about how they work. I'm told that the kind of big bubble camera that captures a wide angle uses AI. It can do face detection and stuff like that, because you don't want to give the wrong driver or the wrong person a ticket.
Yeah, well, I guess it would. So typically with that kind of technology, it captures your license plate, right?
Oh, they're going to make sure they capture your license plate, but they
then
want
they
to
could also capture your face in case someone else is driving your car.
You might come back and say,
before.
Yeah, you might come
Not
back
from
and
a
say,
school
I
bus,
wasn't driving,
Yeah.
That was my car, but I wasn't driving or something like
Right.
that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's happened.
So that'll be a big change for next school year. I imagine once people start getting those fines, word may spread quickly anyway.
Yeah, I bet there will be a kind of divided reaction. A lot of people are going to be happy that we're doing things to keep kids safer, and a lot of people are going to say $1,000 no matter what.
I don't know how many people will say that out loud, but they'll be frustrated when they have to go pay it.
For sure.
Yes.
I mean, I'll be following up on this week. I'm really interested to see what the manufacturer has to say and more specifics about the story. But I think it'd be I'd be interested to know at the start of the school year if it has made a difference in the amount of cars running that they've noticed.
Yeah, I think we're going to plan on following up on this initiative as the school year gets going.
So check out that story this week. And thanks, Ben, for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
You can learn more about any of those stories we've talked about today at the link in our show notes. And if you have any news tips or questions, you can email us at podcastadmin@gainesvilletimes.com. And be sure to share this podcast with a friend or on social media, or give us a like. And join us again next week and invite your friends.